KLCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I love this next topic we're going to speak about. I was watching a video. Let me start this way. I was watching a video on YouTube, and these people were given these like goggles or whatever you want to call it, virtual reality goggles to wear. And what they were looking at was this virtual reality of puppies. like they would look around the room, and when they would turn their head, it would be like it would look in a real world if you were turning your head, and there were puppies all over the place, and they were jumping on them, and they were reacting because you could hear them and see them. Oh. And then they also put some fake like stuffed animal puppies in their laps and nearby them, so if they reached around like to touch a puppy, they would actually feel something for real. And if you go to Disney World, is it Disney World? Yeah, one of them has the soaring ride where you feel like you're flying. Back to the Future, you used to feel like you were flying in that ride, right? We have an interesting world out there. And then there was that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think it was called Total Recall. Yes. Where he went on vacations and things like that. And he went to, into this chamber for, a half hour, and he felt like he was on a 2-week vacation, that kind of thing. I've often thought when we look around at ourselves that maybe reality is only what is the song row 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 your boat, life is just a dream? Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just an illusion in a way. We have the technology is the title of a book that gives me a place to go to kind of explore some of these thoughts. Cara Platoni is on the phone. She wrote, this is an awesome book. The subtitle, How Biohackers, Foodies, Physicians, and Scientists Are Transforming Human Perception. And if you wonder about the foodie part, yeah, the things you taste. Like the popcorn that tastes like anything. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Cara is an award-winning journalist. She teaches reporting and narrative writing at University of California's Berkeley's Graduate School of Journalism. She's the recipient of the American Association for the Advancement of Science Journalism Award and the Everett Clark Seth Payne Award for Young Science Journalists. And again, her book is called We Have the Technology. Cara, you have written this is the kind of book a guy like me doesn't want to put down.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad, Larry.
Where are you? Where are you calling from?
So I'm calling from Oakland, California, where it is raining for the first time in years.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's just
sure.
Virtual rain?
I'm pretty sure it's a real rain, but I have to say virtual rain or virtual reality is getting really cool. It is getting very, very convincing. It does really feel real.
It does.
And I haven't done this. Well, you know what? I did do this one time. And it's been maybe 10 years. Where were we? Oh, down at Disney World.
Yes.
They have like a game room. I think they're closing it now. It used to be
Disney Quest.
It used to be called Disney Quest. And my son was little at the time. And he was standing on one circle and I was staying in another circle. We put these headsets on and stuff with face. And it looked like my flashlight was a sword. It was cool.
Yeah. It's cool. Yeah. My whole plan for the book, because I'm a reporter, not an academic. The idea was 11 stories about really cool technologies that have to do with sensory perception being used in the real world by real people. So for the chapter on virtual reality, I went to this military base in Colorado, where they're doing this experiment to see if they can prevent soldiers from getting post-traumatic stress disorder after they deploy. And the whole idea is they put them in this combat scenario in virtual reality. They wear the goggles, hooked up to a computer. They've got all of these biometric monitors, measuring their heartbeat and all these other indicators of stress. And they put them in these stressful scenarios before they deploy. And the idea is this situation so real that if they face the real thing, they'll be better able to cope with it. It's a cool idea, isn't it?
That is very cool. But I mean, it just expands to so many different possibilities. Like, for example, I can only see what my eyes allow me to see. And there are wavelengths of light that I can't see. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah.
it's possible that like when we send these rovers to Mars and these other things, it's possible the only thing we're seeing are the things we can perceive. There might be things
Right.
that we just can't perceive.
Right, and in fact, we know there are other animals alive on this planet now that have senses that we don't have, right? Like sharks can sense electricity, and lots of animals that migrate, like sea turtles and butterflies, they can sense magnetic fields. People can't do that. And there are animals that can sense, you were just talking about how we can only see the visible spectrum of light. Well, there are animals that can sense the infrared, like pit vipers can sense it. And there are animals that can see into the UV, honeybees can see into the UV, right? So part of what I did in this book was I hung out with a bunch of biohackers, which are basically people who experiment on their own bodies.
Oh.
Were really frustrated. Yeah, it was really interesting, really cool. And they were saying, look,
We've all done that at one point, by the way.
yeah, right.
Just thought I'd point that out.
Pretty serious. These guys are actually, some of them are doing things like they're getting magnets implanted in their body to see if that can help them sense, pick up on magnetism in their environment. I hung out with a bunch of guys who had just built this device called the Circadia, which was an implant that goes in the arm that could read out your body's temperature to your phone. And it was kind of the precursor to the thing they just actually came out with the first model of this year, which is a little device called the North Star. That's like a little, the idea was to make it like a little compass that would go in your hand that would light up when you face north to kind of give you that sense of direction. So
Oh, wow.
just a couple weeks ago, they came out with a beginner version of that. It lights up, but it doesn't have the magnet in it yet. So it was kind of, there are a lot of people saying, why can't we do more? Why can't we perceive more? Why are our eyeballs so limited?
Oh, wow.
And
By the way, don't put a magnet in your eye. It's a terrible idea. Don't do that.
and when you were speaking to the soldiers with PTSD, chances are that's because of the horrendous things that they've seen. Is it wise to get rid of those kind of memories?
Well, so the people I spoke to had not deployed yet. The idea was to see if they could treat them, before they deployed, to prevent them from getting PTSD. So, but this has also been used by soldiers after they've come back. It's a different experiment. And the idea isn't to get rid of the memories. It's actually based on a very old form of therapy where you talk through a scary thing with your therapist, or you go out to experience it with your therapist there. And the idea is that the more you expose yourself to the scary thing, the less fearful it becomes. It helps you get over that. So this kind of therapy was actually developed for people who are afraid of heights, or afraid of spiders, or afraid of traveling on planes.
But
And then they start to make virtual planes and virtual heights, and now it's virtual war.
Okay. I'm just curious about the psychological part of this, because isn't that what they say is causing some kids to be desensitized and do horrendous crimes because they're playing, Grand Theft Auto, and there's like, oh, it's no big deal. You kill somebody and they'll come back up. It's easy to kill people.
Yeah, the interesting thing is with this for therapy is for people who've actually come back from war is the terrible thing has already happened to them. They've already actually been in that violent situation, so kind of their worst fear has already materialized. So the idea is for people with PTSD, they can't let go of that fear. They begin to avoid things that remind them of that situation. So, for example, people who've been in a car crash might avoid driving again. The idea is to re-expose them to the scary
I've gone
thing
through that, yeah.
and show that it's safe. Yeah, exactly, right? So it's really cool. And the people who are working on this are saying, maybe it's not just for soldiers in the war. What if we could use it for people in civilian life who face trauma all the time, like people who work in emergency rooms, people who are emergency first responders? What if it could help them? So that's kind of a cool potential future application.
I was wearing a brand new shirt, and I was in a car, and we hit a cow, and we weren't hurt at all, but I'm so superstitious. I don't want to put that shirt on again. So I have this brand new shirt that just hangs in my closet that I'm afraid to wear, because I'm afraid, if I wear this shirt, I'll be in an accident.
Yeah, I'd get rid of it. Yeah. I would. I'd get rid of it.
So maybe I should have some virtual therapy to get me to. I would have a new shirt if I did that.
Yeah, virtual shirt.
This is such a fun topic. There's so much more to this book than what we've talked about. And of course, in a short interview on the radio, it's hard to do it all. But we can do more on the other side of the break. Cara Platoni, you've written this is a great gift, by the way, and I have somebody in mind for this one. I have a daughter-in-law who's a teacher. What grade does she teach? Sixth grade. Oh, she would love this. Cara,
that's awesome. I love it.
Can you hold on? We're going to go take a break, and we'll be right back, okay?
Right, sure.
We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by MyFWC.com. Safe boating is no accident. It will be more humid this afternoon with a blend of clouds and sunshine. Expect a shower in spots, high 79 to 83. Considerably cloudy and warm tonight, low 68 to 70. Cloudy with showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday at 81 to 83. And Wednesday, mostly cloudy, warm and muggy, high 82 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Jeremy Pearson.
Whether you're building it up or knocking it down, get it done, rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you the whole weekend and only pay for one day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now. 352-369-9101.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
All right, Cara Platoni is on the phone, and we're talking about her book, We Have the Technology, How Biohackers, Foodies, Physicians, and Scientists Are Transforming Human Perception One Sense at a Time. The sense of taste is where I wanted to go with the conversation a little bit, because, Cara, I understand art a little bit, so if I take, red paint and yellow paint, I make orange paint, right? So right. Culinary people, they can do the same thing. They can take one flavor, mix it with another flavor, and come up with a totally different flavor that doesn't taste like either of the two, right?
Right.
But is that, it sounds like what you're talking about with the sixth, what was it, the sixth flavor or something?
Sixth taste, the search for the sixth taste.
So it's like there's something that can be, it's almost like a color that is not visible to us.
Yeah, this is one of the most fun, coolest things that's going on in food science research right now. So in taste research, there's this idea that there are only 5 basic tastes, just like red or blue are basic colors. The idea is you can't break them down to get anything smaller. So the tastes are salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and umami, which means savory. But if you, like me, went to school in the last century, you remember a time when there was only 4. Umami hadn't come along yet, right? And it's this whole new idea of there's this this thing in the environment that can interact with your body. Basically, sweet means sugar interacts with a receptor on your tongue. And for umami, they discovered that glutamate, which is the thing in MSGs, locks with this receptor on your tongue. So all of a sudden there were 5 basic tastes. And so scientists started going, well, why not 6? Why not 7? Why not 1 million? What if there are other basic tastes out there? So there are all of these labs that are out there trying to discover what the 6th one might be. Oh, so wow. As a reporter, I ran around to all of them and tried to taste all of the contenders that I could. So one of them is fat. if you happen to live in Denver, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science is doing this huge public experiment where you can go in and see if you can taste fat. Another one is calcium. There are people who are trying to see if water might be its own taste. There are people seeing if carbon dioxide might be the taste. And there's this really wild idea that is from a Japanese food research company. And their idea is called kokumi. And this idea is it's a basic taste. Doesn't taste like anything, but makes all the other basic tastes taste better.
Well,
Isn't that amazing?
What is umami? I'm out of the loop on that one. It's something I've missed.
So umami is it's the idea of something that's very like savory, very deep flavor. So like caramelized onions are considered really umami. Parmesan cheese, tomatoes are considered umami, and everybody says, "Oh, but tomatoes are sweet." But actually, if you cook a tomato down like into a tomato sauce, or if you sun roast them, they become very flavorful, very kind of like warm and dense flavored. That's what umami is. And some people say I can't taste it, but some people love it. We have, I don't know if you have it in Florida, but we have a whole burger chain out here called Umami Burger.
Wow.
Umami Burger.
It'll be here.
Umami Burger. Yeah.
How's it spelled? How do you spell umami?
UMAMI. It basically means beautiful taste, and that concept has existed in Japan since 1908.
Is the
1908? Can you believe it?
That is
wow.
Wait a minute. I think I know the sixth taste. It's Nutella, isn't it?
Yes, that's a good contender. I would volunteer for that experiment anyway.
How does a person's body chemistry affect the taste senses, though? Because when a person buys perfume or cologne and you apply it to your own body, maybe the next person next to you, it doesn't smell the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of research going on about individual variation that might affect what you can taste. One of them is genetics. Everybody's genes are different, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe your eating behavior, your food preferences are driven by something that has to do with your genetics. So, for example, when I was at the museum tasting fat, a lot of the things that they did were they asked me to keep a record of how many other fatty foods I'd eaten. They were trying to determine if I genetically was predisposed to like fat. They took a DNA swab of the inside of my mouth, so I donated my genes to science so they could look at my genes.
I donated mine to Goodwill.
To taste fat. Yeah, and I can tell you, I tasted something. Me personally, I tasted something, and it was not like bacon. That's what I'll tell you. Fat.
Not like bacon.
Not like bacon at all.
Oh wow! So okay, there was one part of the book I want to ask you about. This is the Christmas season. People will be flying in that you haven't seen. You're going to be so happy to see them, and then you're going to go back to the airport. And when you see them walking into that place you can't go because they have security, or you see the airplane taking off, or you see them driving away, you get so sad. When they're leaving, it's like a heartbroken feeling.
Very sad.
You mean Tylenol can fix that?
So this is a really fun idea. So I talked with all of these researchers about pain. I did a whole chapter on pain. And there are a bunch of researchers who think that physical pain, so the pain of a broken bone, and social pain, which is the pain of being rejected, the pain of heartbreak, are actually pretty much the same thing to your brain. That they're happening in the same places, it's kind of the same mechanism. And so the way they experimented with this is they said, okay, well, if we can turn up one thing, can we turn down the other? So they would put people in an fMRI scanner, and they would make them play a game that rejected them. It was basically like a game of Frisbee, where the other players would start passing the Frisbee to each other and leave the subject out. But they would give them Tylenol to see if it made them feel less rejected. And it did. It did. And then they did similar experiments with people who had recently been broken up with. Their partner had dumped them, and they would put them in the scanner and say, what part of the brain is activating? The same part is for physical pain. So then they thought, okay, let's try it the other way around. Let's give people physical pain, but let's have them either look at a picture of their loved one or hold their loved one's hand and see if it hurts less. And it does. It turns out that love is a painkiller, kind of a mild painkiller.
How do you measure that, though?
Really
how do you measure broken
that's neat,
heart?
right?
What's that song? How do you mend a broken heart? How do you measure a broken heart?
Right.
How do you measure broken heart? They would make them fill out forms. How rejected do you feel on a scale of 1 to whatever?
Oh,
and people
okay.
who had taken a Tylenol felt less rejected.
Not too bad now. I was an 8 before, but now I'm just a 3.
You talk about you talk about treating diseases, but you also talk about Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. How can these discoveries help people get back to normal?
Yeah, so this is about the chapter on smell, which is the chapter that makes people cry on planes. I'm just going to warn you. I have heard that this will make people cry. You're reading it during your holiday travels. It is so one of the the first clinical observable symptom of Alzheimer's is problems with sense of smell. Most people don't know that. I didn't know that when I started. And don't worry if your smell isn't as great as it was when you were a kid. That's normal. That happens to everybody. But what Alzheimer's does is it makes it harder to tell the differences between different smells. So everything kind of starts to smell more and more the same. So there is this group of women in Paris who are volunteers at hospitals, and all of these women work in the cosmetics industry. And they came up with this cool idea that they call olfactotherapy, or olfactotherapy if you're going to try to pronounce it in French. And what they do is they bring all of these scents into people and have them smell it. So they've created this whole library of scents that would be welcome to a French person and kind of familiar. So like bread and wine and fresh fruits and all of these things that people love to eat, or things that remind them of holidays or perfumes. And they have those little paper wands like you get at the department store perfume counter, and they dip them in and they wave them under the person's nose. And then the person usually talks about what that smell is. It helps them recall a memory.
Oh, wow.
And for people, isn't that cool? And for people with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, they often withdraw socially. It's hard for them to communicate. It's hard for them to remember the names of things. But smell, I think we've all had that experience of smell, like kind of bringing up this sense of nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds you of something from your house, from when
Oh, my
you were a
goodness,
kid,
yes.
food you love to eat. It helps people talk. And it's just a really cool idea of a way to help people. It's not a cure, of course. You can't cure Alzheimer's, but it can help. It can help your parents talk to you in the hospital. It can help you kind of share a memory.
I can relate to the smell thing, and this is going to sound weird, but I'll give you 2 examples and try not to be lengthy with this. But I was in California when I was 22. I'm not a pot smoker, and I'm not being judgmental, but I was hanging out with a lot of pot smokers back in those days. And then when I came back to Florida, I wasn't really around anybody. I was in California. I don't know if I mentioned that. So they were all smoking pot. When I came back to Florida, I never was around anybody anymore that smoked pot. And I was at the beach at Daytona one time, and somebody nearby was smoking it. And it was like, oh, man, I love that smell. Right?
Yeah, that's good.
It's like you're in California again, right?
Yeah, it was like,
it brings you back.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and there's actually a reason for that. The smell center in your brain is very, very closely linked to the centers for emotion and memory. They're only a couple synapses away. And that is why smell is kind of unique in being able to retrieve these powerful emotional memories in a way that just looking at something or hearing something again can't necessarily do.
How about the people that have lost their motor movements, or they've been born without motor movements and they have to be in a chair the rest of their lives? Sometimes there are devices that they can think things and actually have them typed on a computer screen.
Yes. So this is really fascinating. This is in the chapters on touch and to a certain extent on vision and hearing. I got really interested in the research that's going on with what you're referring to, which is neuroprosthetics. That basically means a brain implant that can read your brain activity and interpret it. So a lot of people are envisioning this as a way to help people who are paralyzed, who have had a stroke, or they have Lou Gehrig's disease, and they can't move or communicate normally. So they would think to move a cursor on a computer screen or to control a device that would talk aloud for them, or even in the case of somebody who doesn't have a working arm or leg, to drive a prosthetic limb. They would just think and it would move naturally. Yeah, it's a very amazing technology.
Kara, thank you so much. The book is called We Have the Technology. The cover illustration, by the way, I ordered those glasses when I was a kid. They did not work.
The X-ray effects.
The X-ray glasses, yeah. And how do we get the book? Do you have a website?
Yep, it's just my name, KaraPlatoni.com, KaraPlatoni. You can also find it on Amazon, iTunes, any bookstore will have it, BarnesandNoble.com. It's all over the place.
All right. Kara, you're a joy to talk to. Thank you so much. If you celebrate Christmas, have a great Christmas. If not, have a great winter solstice tonight.
Yes. Dance around. Have fun.
Thank you, Kara.
It's been
I'm
so
suspending
fun.
my campaign for president.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham making that announcement this morning, saying he'd run a campaign we can be proud of. Graham based his White House bid on national security.
I'm suspending my campaign, but never my commitment to achieving security through strength for the American people.
Graham's poll numbers never went beyond the single digits. His departure now leaves 13 Republicans still in the 2016 race. Half a dozen NATO troops are killed in Afghanistan when their patrol comes under attack.
Responsibility for the attack quickly claimed by the Taliban. NATO saying the soldiers died in a suicide bombing close to Bagram airfield, the largest U.S.